going to produce
I tried to like Christmas when I was a child. I tried. We do the family thing. We go up to local reference to St. Joe's parking lot to get our Christmas tree. We go down to Nelson's gift store, Dixie Highway down in Flossmoor. They have those lovely little pine-scented incense. And it made the house smell wonderful and Christmassy. But the problem for me was we would get our Sears catalog sometime in autumn, and I would pore over all the toy sections. Yes, I have to have that one. And Santa never brought me. The semi-tractor trailer truck with Sears on the side never pulled in front of the house to bring all the pallets of toys that I deserved. You know. I was a good boy. And, sadly, as I grew older, I found out, my Santa Claus worked at a factory at 22nd and Calumet, and had a lot of people to buy gifts for, so I got what I got, and I was happy for it. The other problem I had as a child growing up was my birthday is a week and a half before Christmas. Anybody else is a December baby, they know where I'm going. I had a lovely, I loved Annie. She was so sweet. And she loved to combine my Christmas and birthday. Children count. We know how many gifts our brothers and sisters got, and I always came up one short every year. We still count. Just telling you, if you got any friends who are there. So that was, that was Christmas for a kid is all about me. It's all about giving me something, getting something, So of course, you never get as much as you feel like you ought to have. The other side of Christmas for us, of course, was the family dinner. We always had ours on Christmas Eve, and my aunt and uncle would come over, and then we had, at times the 6 kids. We were ranged in age about 18 years from top to bottom. So we were shipping some off as new ones were coming in. Irish Catholics, what can I say? And, but the problem was, it was high drama in our house. My mom's sous chef, if you will, was Jim Beam. And she would start cooking and drinking at about the same time. Often she was cooked long before and it was just, and when you're a little kid, you just kind of, well, why is mommy funny? The first course, after she had her drinks, would typically be, her pain, her sorrow. And main course, of course, would be anger, served with, screaming and shouting, and dessert would usually be guilt and remorse. This carried on for 10 years, so one of the things about being of my age, not Karen's, but mine, I was raised in the duck and cover generation. And I don't know if anybody else remembers the Cuban Missile Crisis, but I remember that October, they had us sitting underneath our desks in St. Joe's, pretending like that would save us from the hydrogen bombs. It was the kiss your ass goodbye school. But the duck and cover was the technique that I used to survive growing up with those horrible Christmases. They were just horrible. And so you just bear down in the shell, and you know that it'll be over. You get your little gift the next morning, and then you scurry off and wait till the next year, and it happens again. When I finally was 18 years old and I went off to college, I never came back for Christmas at home again. There was no good reason to. But that next decade kind of became my bah humbug years. Because there I am with a bunch of other strangers trying to cobble together some sort of Christmas event. And it was lonely, Pure and simple. It was just lonely. I mean, occasionally I had a girlfriend who would invite me to enjoy the meal with her family, and I got to peek in on what a Christmas could be. And it was kind of nice, you know, and I was a good guest. You know, I didn't expect much. I could carry on a conversation. I enjoyed the cooking. It was better than what I was doing as a single man in college or when I was working down in Hyde Park. And so after about a decade, well, it all kind of turns around. It's sort of like when Charlie Brown is asking, you know, what is Christmas all about? Mine just kind of goes, well, you know, bam, it's nice and simple. The woman I am now married to at the time when we were dating was very involved with folk dancing. And I know this is exciting for you all. Where can we go and folk dance? When was the last time you tarried to the nicest house you go? I know you know what that is. And so anyhow, you know, so she came out from the East and went to the University of Chicago. And at the time, in the mid-70s, sorry, in the mid-70s, folk dancing was huge. 6 nights a week down at the University of Chicago, you could find some place to folk dance. It was a big, exciting thing to do. And so, my wife, you know, became a very good folk dancer, and in fact was in a couple of different folk dance groups. And one of them that she still, you know, well, if they were younger, would still be performing, called the International Dancers. We were as much a social group, or they were as much of a social group as they were a performing group. And so they would have these lovely social events. We would, you know, they would have, oh gosh, we did Passover Seder's. We would do Hanukkah. I think there were a few of us who were Jewish, but, you know, we would do Midsummer Night's Eve, and we would put on plays. You know, we'd do Shakespeare's play in the, you know, at the end of June. Labor Day and all the other things. And it all revolved around food and just getting together. But the highlight of the year was the Ye Olde English Wassail Party. And these are University of Chicago people. They put together every little tradition that meant absolutely nothing to them, because none of them were English, you know. But they took all these lovely British traditions and put them all together. So when I first joined up with this group, it would be sometime second or third weekend of December, and Jim would have it. Jim's a nice Hungarian guy from 97th and Stony. He's hosting this Ye Olde English Wassail Party. Well, Jim worked for the government. He was moved to Washington, D.C., and they said, who wants to host this party? And so Marie and I said, sure, you know, we'll take this on. And so the wassail party, well, first, I'm sure you're all dying to know, what is wassail? I've heard it in a song. It must be something. Wassail it's a punch. And it's lots of different kind of recipes. The one that we use is port wine, brandy, eggs, some spices, sliced up apples and oranges. And that's basically it. Wassail is an old German phrase for to your health or be ye in good health. And so the idea was you go from door to door, and these people would open their doors, and you come in and have a cup of wassail and move on throughout the neighborhood. And so it was this very, Christmas time was an open and friendly time maybe in England back then, I don't know. So anyhow, that's kind of the centerpiece of our evening together. So the way the day starts for me, now that I'm the host, is modestly. I just take a little aluminum pot, take a stick of cinnamon, some cloves, a little shred of nutmeg, a little bit of rum, some water, and I just put it on to simmer. Because like back at church, with the incense censers, the smell brings back so many memories. So I started with the smell, so that the first thing our guests will be greeted with is this lovely aroma of the holiday. I also cook to excess, which is tons of fun. I get a 20-pound standing rib roast. I'll put the ducks and geese out in the smoker. I've got game hens out in the Weber. And my wife cooks a lovely root vegetables. And everybody brings a dish to pass. And the guests come in, and as soon as they're in and we reach sort of a critical mass, I'll start putting the wassail together. Warm up the port, You mix the eggs and spices. You can't let the pork get too warm because you pour the eggs in and you don't want them to cop, you don't want them to cook. You get that in there and it is disgusting. I see the look on your face and you are absolutely right. And you, in another saucepan, you pour the brandy in and you warm that up. We pour the egg and pork mixture into the bowl with the fruit, turn out the lights, ignite the brandy, and pour that, and you get this lovely blue flame cascading into the punch bowl. You mix it together, and these blue flames are dancing on that. You wait till the flames die down, and everybody gets their cup, and we all share that. And then it gets the party started, because you start to feel warm inside, and everything starts to, oh, that's good, you know. And in the meantime, I'm getting the meat out of the oven, I'm bringing the birds in from the smoker, and you know, I'm getting ready to carve and serve. So we have our dinner, wait a few minutes, and then we move off to the living room, and we have our revelries then. So this is where the University of Chicago, searching through old references to come up with things to do, comes in. We have a grand march. The players come out and play instruments and, you know, some background music. None of us are musical, but it's just sort of fun marching around. Step off stage, and the first four people come out and they do a Morris dance. They're dressed up in sort of white jumpers and bells around around their calves, and they do this little dance with sticks and bells. And it's kind of okay, that's fun. And then we do a mummers play. Now, I don't know if you know, in Philadelphia they have the Mummers Parade on New Year's Day. Who's a mummer? I don't know what a mummer is, but we do this mummers play every year. And a mummers play traditionally is a resurrection play. It probably had something to do with returning from the Crusades, because in some of the British versions it's St. George, fighting this villain called Bull Slasher. He gets killed by Bull Slasher. They call in the quack doctor to bring him back to life. Modesty prevents me from telling you who plays the role of the quack doctor. But the cure is to pull a tooth. Surprisingly, he comes back to life, slays Bull Slasher, and order and joy returns to the village. And so we march off, and then another dance occurs. We do a rapper sword dance. 5 guys walking around who haven't had too much wassail at this point are walking around with these swords, doing semi-intricate moves, and end up where we put our swords together and make what's called a nut, and walk around with the swords all tied together. Kind of fancy for a bunch of drums. we leave the stage, and then they have crackers, which they're just basically toilet roll tubes that are elaborately decorated. You pop them open, there's a crown to wear. And it's nothing funnier than watching lawyers, doctors, accountants wearing little paper crowns. And then we retire from that, we'll play with our puzzles and things. And we go and we have a figgy pudding, just like the song. So bring us some figgy pudding. And again, we're pouring, flaming brandy on that. Yeah, we like this stuff. and then we have our desserts and coffee. And, but basically it's 40 people who just spent 5 hours together on a cold winter's night, being together and sharing our love. So like Linus, he quoted from Luke, but the idea is the same. It's all about being with the people you love. And that was what I missed as a child. That was the present I didn't get, but I give it to myself every year by having my friends with me. So, wassail.